Okay, hi guys, welcome back to another review. This time we have the SeeAudio Yume. SeeAudio seems to be yet another Chifi company, and they have a sort of cool design. This is one that I'm going to start off with the product in the box. I've been using it for a little bit now. Straight off from the start, it's not the best for the money. It's a good earphone. We'll get into why that is, but I think there's a lot of options there that are better value for money and long-standing things which are not without their own drawbacks, but there's other options that I would go for this. But I do like the presentation of this. I just thought this was quite interesting, that they're going this manga route. So it's a Yume, it's a one dynamic driver with two balanced armatures. I believe they're nose, and they've based it off of the Harman target curves, and they're using a liquid silica dynamic driver, which I think is their sort of their claim to fame, their thing where they claim that this is going to beat the world. To be fair, I quite like this presentation on the back. It's telling you like what they're trying to achieve, how they're trying to achieve it, and there's not too much hype. A lot of these companies promise the world and deliver very little, but this is a more technical background. I quite like that. So the box is just that nice outer sleeve. Then you have the inner good quality cardboard with nothing on it. I'll try and get this out while I'm on camera. And there we go. And it's a bit of a jumbled mess when you open up, because these pieces of paper don't really have anywhere to go. But again, it's another like nice little touch that they've got some stickers. I mean, this is a weird thing. They've got little stickers like that. As a grown man, I'm not going to use that. And the usual warranty card and instruction manual, which nobody's ever going to use. So as you can see, you have the earphones here, you have a good selection of tips, you have silicone in 4 sizes, and you have foam in 2 sizes, medium and large. I actually really like they give you 2 mediums and 2 larges, because I find that for most people the extra large are way too big and the small are way too small. So having double options on the foam, which degrades quite easily, elongates the time between you having to spend your own money on more foam tips if you are a foam tip fan. The only thing I would say is that the large foam tips are getting closer to an extra large in comply standards. You get this generic case. I've seen this on a few different earphones. I believe Orvetti used a similar sort of case like this, Orvetti, and they've put their own logo on it. Inside the case you have the cable, which is not a bad little cable at all. It's not one of the best cables that I've had, but it flows really nice. You have a quad braid into dual twist, and you have 2-pin connectors which are metal, and a cable guide around the top of it. There is a simple plastic slider, metal splitter, and a metal termination in 3.5 millimeters with a quite a nice little strain relief there. So I did like the cable. I actually found it flowed really well, and we'll do the wind test. Put it down, and it behaves really well, resists tangles. It's simple, it's not as premium as something like the blue Linsoul cable, but it's very nice, and this earphone I believe comes in at $170 or so. The IEMs themselves are beautiful, but this design is done to death. There is 1,000,001 different manufacturers now that use this sort of design, with the resin body fused to the metal tip there. You'll have to excuse my hands, I was working on my motorbike earlier. The faceplate on this one's gorgeous. It's got a little it's kind of hard to catch. There you go. It's got like a fleck design in it, it's got the Yume logo, and it's just really nicely done. But you have this now in sub $100 earphones all the way up to $900 earphones. This is not a particularly fancy thing. If you are coming from something lower down and you move up to something like this, then yes, it's going to look spectacular for you. What I will say is that the ergonomic design of it was fantastic. It was a really, really comfortable earphone to use, and I think because of this protrusion up here, it really slots nicely into the ear and gives a very, very solid seal. And at the same time, it's got this medium insertion depth, which makes it comfortable yet deep enough to block out a lot of noise. You have a little bass port there for the dynamic driver to breathe, and then you have the 2-pin connectors, which are it's a flush connection again, so it's not recessed, unfortunately, which would give a little bit more protection for water ingress and corrosion of these points. But as long as you keep them dry, keep them safe, and wipe them down if you're using them when you're sweating, you shouldn't have any problems. The sound quality is good. It has good highs, decent highs, nothing spectacular going on there. There's not a massive soundstage, there's decent soundstage, I would say. It has fantastic mid-range with excellent vocal performance. And also some really good performance with some upper octave stringed instruments. I wouldn't say that like acoustic guitars or something like that deserves a little bit more warmth would benefit from a little bit of EQ on this one. The bass is accurate, and it punches nicely, it ticks along, tick, 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 but it doesn't have the impact. If you listen to a lot of EDM or, for example, a lot of hip hop, EDM, that sort of stuff, you're going to miss the ethereal rumble that something else can deliver. The overall tuning is really, really pleasant. A lot of people have been asking about these in relation to the File FH3, and there was another, I think it was a Shazi earphone, and was it Tipsy Dumner that people are asking for comparisons. And I would say that they're all pretty much like for like. With this liquid dynamic technology, I think I was expecting something more from the low end, because that's their claim to fame, where they're specializing their liquid silicone dynamic driver. And to be honest, the low end sounds good, but it's not as impactful as I would like as somebody that listens to a wide variety of genres. It's good and it's inoffensive, and I think if you listen to a lot of sort of jazz, classical to a point, and a lot of rock, like classic rock and stuff like that, these can work very, very well for you. But if you listen to more modern genres with a lot of bass to it, you're going to want to go with something else. So that brings you to the sort of value proposition. I believe that these sell for about $170, and to be honest, I think they're overpriced at that price point. The reason being I say that is, and I'm going to go back, and people give me like a little bit of noise about still being into the Tin Hi-Fi P1. I think the Tin Hi-Fi P1 are around about $130, $140 or something. Even if these were the same price as the Tin Hi-Fi P1, the originals, the Tin Hi-Fi P1 are so far ahead of a lot of these earphones, and this is my personal opinion. I think it was the standard bearer when it came out, and a lot of companies are just playing catch up now to what Tin did with the original P1. I've said it time and time again that for soundstage, presentation, all sorts of stuff, the P1 are still an absolute banging headphone, and they're the headphone that I would personally use under $200. You also have the Shure tape, the original Shure tape, which I think are now like $109 or $129. Incredible sounding, incredible soundstage, incredible mid-range performance, overall tuning, and really banging bass on the Shure tape. But then if you want to go even lower and you still want to outperform these, I think the Shure H27, about $100, $110. These are all earphones that were 29 releases. You need to remember they're coming up for 2 years old, and they were such a standard bearer for me. With the introduction of the electrostatic drivers and the planar technologies, that I find it very hard to not compare it to them. When I think something happened then when they were moving to electrostatic drivers and they were moving to planar drivers. They didn't really know how it was going to be taken, and they released them at a really low price point, where if they'd had initial feedback on something like the Shure Tape or the P1, which albeit have cheap housings, I think they could have priced those things up at the $500 range if they put them into a shiny casing. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is that, yeah, so you can say that if it was similar price for similar price and you've got the P1, you would look at the source compatibility. The P1 are very, very source dependent. They need power to be driven, and likewise these benefit from power, but more than that, they're a little bit finicky with different sources. Like I find they benefit a little bit more from a warm source, or something like the Honey H1, with its really unique presentation, or this setup with the correct amp inside it, versus something like the Shanling, which sounds a little bit colder. And using it straight out my iPhone lightning cable, I have the iPhone 12 Pro Max, and using it with this DD Hi-Fi adapter, I don't think it sounded very good at all. When it's paired with this, it can sound very, very good, but it is source dependent, so you've got to be aware of that if you're going to buy this. I think it's a good earphone. I think it's good all around. It's just that there's a lot of earphones that are like this now. There's a lot of companies doing this shell, this housing, doing their own faceplate things, and they're all pricing it sort of $100 to $300 and different driver configurations on the inside. I think it's good. I think it's solid. I don't think it's for somebody that likes a lot of bass or likes a lot of bass impact, but I think it has its merits when it comes to sorry, you got to excuse me, my battery is playing up on the camera right now. I think it has a lot of merits when it comes to vocals specifically, and mid-range performance. So that's going to be it for the SeeAudio Yume. It's a interesting company to see where they go from this. Personally, I wouldn't get it myself, given the other earphones that I said that are in that range, but it might be something for you. And that's going to be it for this review while I try and fix this camera, and I'll be back with, I believe it's going to be a Duno Zen review next.